Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another podcast, Inside Polling. Thanks again for joining us. It is awesome to have you here. First, yesterday we were loaded with polls. Loaded. Today we don't have quite as many. So, what I do want to do is walk through how the Trump campaign is looking at the map right now. As we know, the 7 battleground states, and by the way, we have them all memorized by now. And I want to thank all the new viewers and listeners on X and viewers on YouTube. I appreciate it, and keep bringing the comments. If you have any questions, I'll continue to answer them. But what's happened here, of course, is, and actually, let me get to the map right away. So we know this map well. Here's the winning formula, and I filled out all the states for you. I had Trump flipping Nevada, flipping Arizona, flipping Georgia, holding on to tight North Carolina. Now think about what that does. He just won all those back. But the blue wall is his wall. You're talking about a wall? Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. If Harris holds on to those three, it does not matter. It does not matter what Trump does in all those states. So Trump's looking at the map saying, okay, what happens? What happens if she holds on to that wall? Are there any other options? Well, there is an option. There's what they think is 4 options. The chances are slim to maybe none. But you got to look at them, because here's what's happened. Harris has opened the door. Harris has opened the door by having that 4-point lead to 3 to 2 to 1. And some could say she has a 1 point. Some could say Trump has a 0.5. And some people could say it's even. I'm going on the basis of Harris winning between 1 to 1.5 in the popular vote. Now, with Clinton race in 2016, Trump lost by about 2.5%, we'll call it. He lost to Biden by 4 and change. Okay, so you can see the difference of what 2% does. So now let's take the 2.5. Now that we know what 2.5, the difference of becoming a president, 2.5 of a loss versus 4.5 does. Let's drop that 2.5 down to 1.5 or 1. It's leaked in some other states. It has not given him a lead. But what are the 4 states? Let's look at the map and go over the possibilities that could be out there. None of these states are showing Trump leading. None. None of the ones I'm about to talk about. But what the Trump campaign's doing, and we'll go through a little bit of where they're visiting, these states, is this thought. She's allowed me to have these come up in the polls. These were always, listen, this is a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 point loss for Trump in all these states I'm about to give you. Minnesota, no one can even tell who the last president was that won Minnesota. New Mexico, same thing. Virginia used to be a battleground, no longer. And of course, maybe the most important, maybe the most shocking, why hasn't Trump campaigned there? New Hampshire used to be a Republican state. Here's the problem with New Hampshire. First of all, it's only 4 electoral votes, one of the lowest out there. So why spend the money in the huge Boston market, which eats up millions and millions and millions of dollars of your campaign, to try to reach voters that may not go your way? Trump lost to Hillary 2 points in 2016. He's never won New Hampshire, and lost by a shocking 7.5 points in New Hampshire. But you would think, just like, I was talking on another podcast today, and somebody asked me, I don't understand. There's a ton more Democrats in Pennsylvania. How in Michigan too? How is Trump in the battle? This is not a Republican state. This is a Trump state. People forget. We don't know what the Republican Party looks like without Trump, since we're going to have 3 elections with him in it. Are Republicans, are they viable options in Michigan without Trump? Are they viable options? Let's say it's DeSantis. DeSantis bring in the Michigan votes that Trump did? You can go through all the candidates. Who is going to bring those voters like Trump did, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania? So what I was saying was it is a Trump state, not a Republican state. You would think New Hampshire, right? Pretty much a white state, could go his way. But here's what's happened. The rush of the Massachusetts population into New Hampshire has affected the race. Because remember, the numbers are not big in New Hampshire. So let's go back to the map now. I gave Trump Nevada. I gave Trump Arizona. I gave Trump Georgia. I'm giving Trump North Carolina. She holds the blue wall. She wins 270 to 268. And by the way, don't forget about that one electoral vote in Nebraska that she's pulled off. The Democrats have pulled off in Nebraska. That one congressional seat. And remember, Nebraska and Maine separated by congressional seats. It's not all for one. So they have separated themselves in that one congressional seat and continue to win. And if they win, that 1 point puts her over. But let's flip this blue here up in New Hampshire to red. He wins. He wins 272 to 266, 4 electoral votes. Okay. So, of course, it's the same in New Mexico. 5 puts him over. Okay. And all the other states I mentioned, of course, Minnesota, of course, Virginia, they're bigger states. So let's go through where the candidates are traveling to, because that tells you, of course, the real, right? All the noise we talk about. This one said that, this one said that, this one did this in the past, this one did that in the past. None of that matters. What really matters, where are the candidates going? Where are they visiting? Where are they heading? So let me just take you through it. You've got Trump heading to Wisconsin today, North Carolina today, Nevada tomorrow, New Mexico tomorrow. And there you go. New Mexico on the board. So for him to spend this kind of time, money during, what do we have, 5 more days? He must think that there's some internal polls there that have him within the range of all the of this poll. So he is spending time in New Mexico. He's going to Nevada also. Then he goes to Michigan and Wisconsin. That's standard. But then there's Virginia. He's heading to Virginia also. So there's 2 of the states he's heading to, spending time. And this is valuable time at this moment, right? Valuable time. So Harris is going to all standard states, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Nevada. So she's staying down the traditional way. He's trying to open up the map. He's trying to open up that map. Let's get to early voting. 55 million people have voted. Wow. Early voting. 55 million people. Incredible. That's just great. In North Carolina, the Republicans have continued to lead by about 42,000 votes there. What's really interesting is the independent voter has taken over the Democrats as the second place, meaning the Republicans have 34% of the vote. The independents have about 33.1% of the vote, and the Democrats are right behind them at 32.8%. They're basically equal. They're equal. All 3, Republicans, Democrats, and independents, all equal. There's about a 42,000 vote difference between Republicans and Democrat. That is North Carolina. In Pennsylvania, the Democrats are leading by 380,000 votes, early votes. 380,000. The independents are only 10% of the vote so far. The Democrats are 57% of the early voting. 57% of Democrats. Have they done a good job getting out the vote? Now, some say, well, compared to 2020, it's not a good number. True. I'm not going to get into 2020. I can't compare 24 to 20 when we're sitting in COVID and half of the country is not leaving the house. So it's all ballots. You can't it's apples and oranges. It's not the same. I can't compare it. I just can't legitimize that. I just can't. Arizona, probably the most shocking. Republicans lead by 40,000 votes in Arizona. Let's get to the polls. Let's start with the state polls. We have Pennsylvania, Quinnipiac. My buddies at Quinnipiac. Go from a Harris 2 in Pennsylvania to a Trump 2. Harris 2 to Trump 2. 4-point swing in Pennsylvania. We have a CNN poll. Pennsylvania. Tie before, it's a tie now. Wisconsin, Marquette. Harris 4 to a Harris 1. So here we go again, guys. Here we go again, right? That's 4 polls. 2 have not moved, or excuse me, 1 has not moved, and 2 have moved Trump's way. Has the momentum stopped? Wisconsin. Now, you wonder why people are frustrated with polls? Here you go. You ready? CNN has not done a poll before in Wisconsin. They poll Wisconsin. Harris +6. Harris +6. Wisconsin in Marquette, who's there, is Harris +1. It's a big difference. It, of course, will change the averages. Minnesota, our only poll, really. We have not had any polls in Minnesota. Minnesota, Rasmussen, right-leaning, had Harris +3. Holds Harris +3. The same. Michigan, USA Today, Harris +3 to a tie. All these polls now showing last month. So it's solidified. Trump has made the move by about 3 points. Nationally and in almost every battleground state. Harris 3 to a tie. Michigan, CNN does a poll. I praised CNN's pollsters yesterday, didn't I? Had Harris +5, still has Harris +5. So we have a tie from USA Today Suffolk poll. We have a Harris +5 CNN. Wow. We have a New Hampshire poll. Going back to our map. Rasmussen, right-leaning. They have not polled New Hampshire. Not many people have polled New Hampshire. They're showing Harris +1. Texas, not important, but I want to show you Trump +8. No poll before. We had one economist, YouGov, asked that congressional question, Republican or Democrat in your congressional seat. They were a tie before. They're now Republican +1. Another gain kind of for the Republicans and Trump there. I've got some Senate polls. Pennsylvania, Quinnipiac. Casey +8, the Democrat. Remember, Casey 8, the Democrat, holding on to that Democratic seat. Casey +3 now. Casey's lost 5 points in a Quinnipiac poll in Pennsylvania. Let's see. We have a CNN poll where before they had it as a tie. They are now showing Casey with a 3-point lead. That's a Casey gain of 3 points. So we have Quinnipiac with Casey losing 5 points. On the flip side, a CNN poll has Casey gaining 3 points since the last poll. This is where we struggle. Right here at the end. A lot of people call it herding. Herding is like when all the pollsters, all of a sudden, all these variables, right, we tend to herd at the end. Everything kind of comes together, and you're starting to see it, right? Trump up by 1, Harris up by 1, Harris up by 2, tie, Harris by 1. right? Everything just starts to solidify. But today is the opposite. Crazy polls, and they're really coming out of CNN. So let's get to Wisconsin, right? Well, we did Wisconsin, right? So we got Baldwin goes from a 4 to a 2 in the Marquette poll. In Wisconsin, CNN, Baldwin +4 to a Baldwin +2. So both polls, Marquette on this one, Wisconsin, both have Baldwin, the Democrat, holding the seat +2. Solid polls. Michigan, we have a USA Today poll and a CNN poll. Michigan, we have the Democrat there holding, leading both polls. Slotkin was +2, is now +2 in the USA Today. So same. In Michigan, we have Slotkin before was +6 in the CNN poll, is now the same. Slotkin +6. No change in those polls. So let's just see real quick while I got this paperwork out. So in Michigan, CNN had no change in their Senate and no change in their presidential poll. In Pennsylvania, it had it moving 3 points to the Democrat. I'm sorry, to the Democrat, 3 points for Casey. Let's check the Pennsylvania CNN poll between Harris, and that stayed the same. So why did Casey go up 3 points there, but Harris didn't? Or you can look at it the opposite way. So interesting differences in the same polling company asking the same people. Let me take you real quick through where we stand. Trump nationally 0.4 through Real Clear. On 538, Harris leading by 1.3. So what's that? A 1.7 difference between two aggregate type companies that grab all the polls. We almost have a 2-point difference between Real Clear, who's a little tighter on their polls, and 538, who opens it up a little bit to almost everybody. So if you open up to everybody, Harris has a much more of a bump. Let's take you through the states. As of right now, Harris now has taken 2 of the battlegrounds. Remember, this was a clean sweep before. A clean sweep. Now, Pennsylvania, Trump 0.7. North Carolina, Trump by 1. Georgia, still holding tight, 2.4. We're not even seeing many polls out of Georgia. What does that tell you? People don't want to spend their money in Georgia for the polls. Polls are expensive. Arizona, Trump 2.5. Wisconsin, Harris takes that lead, 0.2 now. So yesterday she took Michigan. Today she takes Wisconsin. Michigan, Harris holds the lead, 0.5. Nevada, Trump, 0.5. Other than Georgia and Arizona, which are in the 2s, everything else is 1 and under. Everything else is 1 and under. Just really fascinating stuff. Let me take you through the Senate, and I'll get you out of here. Ohio Senate, Democrat holding the seat, up by 1, Brown. Pennsylvania, Democrat seat, Casey by 2, Democrat holding. Wisconsin, Democrat seat, Baldwin 0.8 holding, Democrat. Michigan, Senate, Democrat. Slotkin, 2.9. Good lead there for the Democrat. Montana, Sheehy, Republican, trying to take Tester's seat, up by 6 points there. Nevada, Democrat. Rosen, 4.6. Arizona, Gallego there, a Democrat, up by 4. Cruz up by 4. The Republican, Arizona's Democrat, Nevada's Democrat, Texas is Republican with Cruz. He continues to lead by 4 points. So we went through the map. I showed you why Trump is expanding, visiting other areas of the country, and why it's possible, and how a Nevada or a New Mexico, or of course a Minnesota or Virginia, flip the election. So is it possible? Probably not. But they obviously feel it's worth that last gasp effort, just like Michigan was when he was in Michigan at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning in 2016, and he won by under a half of percentage point. Did that make the difference? Maybe. And Clinton ignored it. That's why that's happening. You guys are updated. Harris wins back another battleground state. Is this a momentum change? We're trying to find it. That CNN poll kicked those averages out of up for Harris. We got to continue to watch. I'll be back tomorrow. Be here tomorrow. I'll get you updated, and we'll go from there. All right, guys. I love you. We'll chat with you soon. Keep watching. See ya.